Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Overflow. Welcome to my Goddess Lounge. I am Rashida and I am very excited to have you with me today. Today, we're going to be really getting into a really fun and informative topic that I know a lot of women are wanting to learn more about. This is an area that I have been able to grow and expand. And I wanted to share this knowledge and wisdom with all of you to help you on your journey. And so today we'll be talking about your feminine energy while in business or professional settings. And I speak to you from a space of a woman who has been continuously doing the self inner heart work and the work on the outside to create a life where my feminine energy can thrive and likes to exist and likes to be and wants to continue to show up in the world. And I do that through my coaching business. I do that through hosting retreats and seminars and workshops and, just really working through life and moving through life through the gifts that I have been given. And I want to talk to you about how to harness and cultivate your feminine energy while you're in business or in professional settings. Because oftentimes that particular energy is not celebrated, it's not always cherished, it's not always deemed as helpful or useful. And the fact is that it is. And that energy is, it can be, I should say, it can be some of the most potent and powerful stuff. And so I just really want to highlight a little bit on the ways in which we can endeavor to exist and be in our feminine energy while in business and professional settings when you are interacting with the world that may not always receive it, but recognize that you can create change, you can create energy shifts, you can create exactly what you are seeking. But that's going to take some work on you. That's going to take you taking the time to navigate yourself, who you are, your gifts, your purpose, really stepping into your spirituality and understanding the ways in which you embody faith and belief in your life, because these are the things that are going to help you and empower you as you use and exist and exude your feminine energy in these spaces. So I want to take a little bit about, oftentimes I hear and I get the questions, how do I get into my feminine energy? What do I have to do to get into my feminine energy? And I want to share that there is no magic like button or pill or, meditation that you could take that will help you to get into your feminine energy. You are already existing and living in this energy. We all possess our feminine and masculine energies, regardless of gender. And oftentimes, the barriers that keep those who are seeking to exist more in their feminine energy are what we would consider wounds. So consider, if you got hurt, physically, and you have a wound or a scar, you're more likely to not keep touching it, poking it, going into it. You're more likely to just allow it to heal, let it do what it has to do. The scar shows up, it heals, and you sort of move on with your life. And that's very similar to how a lot of women have been moving through life with their feminine energy. They have scars in terms of when they existed in their feminine energy. Oftentimes, those are things that may have originated from childhood, originated from our early years. These are some wounds and scarring that has happened from then, and we just sort of let them heal. Then I put heal in like bunny ears, and then moved on. But we oftentimes need to actually take a little stock on what's happening with this wound. How did it heal? I remember several years ago, I had done a surgery, and, to deal with the scar tissue, I was advised to use some vitamin E oil on the scar tissue to keep it from, drying out, letting it heal and heal. And be soft and supple and reintegrate with my body and my skin. And so these are the ways in which I want us to start looking at how we can integrate our feminine energy. Slap a little oil on it. So that really means slap some intentionality on there. Pay a little attention to these wounds and to these areas in your life where they require your magic, your power, your energy. And so some of the barriers that keep us from really existing in our feminine energy, especially when it pertains to business, is this idea of having to do everything. And that that's just not the way that the feminine energy wants to exist and is really created and prepared to exist. This energy is created to be a being sort of energy. This energy does do, but it is not its primary function. Its primary function is really to create environments where the masculine energy can thrive in the doing. And as I said again, we have both. So your feminine energy creates an environment where your masculine energy then can thrive in the doing, in the execution of tasks, in the ability to bring forth and build and create those sort of opportunities for yourself, whether they be professionally or in business. And so the feminine energy allows you to go a little slower. I know sometimes that is actually like the antithesis in business and professional. You know, everyone oftentimes is on a very go, 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 move, 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 very fast sort of pace. And the feminine energy enjoys flow. And when you're sometimes moving in a very quick space, you can misinterpret or misread the flow because you haven't allowed the flow to actually give you the wisdom. And that's where the feminine energy thrives, in taking stock of the flow, in allowing the flow to give them wisdom and indicate what next steps and what things to do and where to move, and understanding energies and recognizing how your body feels when you come into a situation, recognizing what triggers show up. And I want us to highlight that triggers are oftentimes messages. Triggers are messages that want to impart wisdom to us. And when you are existing in your feminine energy and a trigger shows up, this is an opportunity for you to take a pause and check in with yourself and recognize, okay, when have I felt this before? In what situations have I considered or have I encountered this particular feeling? Where am I feeling it in my body? What am I feeling in my body? Are there sensations that are showing up? And then the feminine energy then takes this information that is downloaded and then uses that to make the decisions and steps to move when in business or in professional settings. And so when we start to heal the wounds that prevent us from staying in our feminine energy, so for example, when you start to look at your relationships with other masculines, whether that be males and females, because, we can receive wounding from either or. So when you start to look at and heal the dynamics of those relationships, whether you are in those relationships or not, you can still heal from things even if you are not in connection with the person who may have wounded you. Like, please do not forego or neglect your own healing because you're not in connection or you feel that you cannot receive closure or resolution with someone because you're not in connection with them. You absolutely can, because everything is spiritual, everything is energetic. And so you can connect with this person energetically and do the healing work that is necessary and needed to help to address the wounds that your feminine energy has. For example, I can share that I grew up not always having the absolute best relationship with my own father. And we, over the years, have had a relationship that has resembled a roller coaster ride. And in that, in some of the down portions of our journey, wounding has been created on both sides. And a part of the feminine energy, I'm sorry, is understand that you have to take responsibility and accountability to your input, your participation, and what you have brought into every connection that you have been in. And so it is not about placing the blame on the masculine and saying that they didn't do and they could have been and all of the other things. And that might be very true. But does that necessarily mean that you had no parts to this? No. And so, in addressing the wounds and addressing the areas in which we have been wounded throughout our life, regardless of who you've been wounded with, then you allow yourself the opportunity to heal that relationship for yourself on the inside. And so, as I shared with my father, we had a tumultuous relationship growing up, and that created areas in my life where I did not necessarily trust the masculine. I did not believe in the masculine. So not only did I not trust the masculine, but I didn't believe in them. I didn't believe in their ability to execute, to do as they said they were going to do, to protect me, to provide for me, to look after me, to offer me the care that which my feminine energy requires to thrive and to feel safe, and the presence in which my feminine energy likes to abide in. And so once I began addressing some of these wounds and really looking at how were they unfolding in my life, how was this story that the masculine does not show up for me, that the masculine will not protect or provide for me. How was that showing up in my life? Well, I can tell you that showed up in my life as a single mother later on in life, where I received very little help. I believed that I had to do it all on my own. I'm here to raise this child all by myself. Who's going to help me? I'm the only parent. I'm the only one who cares. And so therefore I must be the only one to do everything. And that ran me ragged. That left me in a space where I was working 2 jobs, doing my business on the side, hustling, literally never really being around for my own child's life. Like, it's interesting how the wounds can create dynamics and patterns and ways of being that are not conducive to actually how I want to live. And once I began to heal these things and to take a look at them and to shine light on those areas, I was able to make changes. I was able to come back into the heart of me. What is the life that I want to live? Do I believe this truly? And once I examined that, actually, I don't believe that, because I have had several indications and examples and experiences in my life where actually the masculine has come through for me. Actually, the masculine has protected me. It has provided for me, whether that's my own masculine energy or the masculine energies that I receive from others, in my life. And so once I was able to just peel back and unpack some of these woundings, it changed how I interacted in my world. It changed how I interacted as a mother, as a woman, as a daughter, as a sister. It really changed how I saw and perceived my life and how it interacts with others, and specifically the masculines in others. And so when we start to, shed light on some of these areas, it allows you to embody your feminine energy much more. And I know that oftentimes it has been portrayed that feminine energy has a look. And I want to tell you that it really doesn't. It's really how you want to show up in your feminine energy. Feminine energy is a feel. Energy is a feeling. It is a presence from within. And that doesn't matter what you dress up. It doesn't matter what you do, that is felt, that will be experienced, that is what shines through, that is what goes before you. Matter of fact, the most powerful thing I love about my feminine energy is that it literally goes before me in spaces that I am not even presently in. Like, that's how powerful my energy can go before me. It can go to cities before I arrive there. Okay? It can find itself in places that are to my betterment before my physical body presence actually is there. And sometimes my physical body presence is not even needed to be there because my energy is so potent, it's so powerful that my energy could do the work for me without me being there. I like to equate this as, for those of you who, grew up in the Walt Disney era when we had the classics like Little Mermaid and, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and all of those ones that came in the VHS. I know I'm dating myself, and that's okay. I'm cool with it, honey, because I know I don't look my age, so I'm good. But, with those of us who have come up in that era, I grew up watching the princesses of the world. And one of my favorite Disney movies was Cinderella. And what I love the most about Cinderella is because Cinderella, although she was in a experience where she was being, treated poorly, she wasn't being shown love and care and attention. She was being neglected. She had to be in her masculine energy because she was the one expected to do and to look after and to perform. She was the one expected to literally create the environment for everyone else, for her stepsisters and her stepmother, right? Her father not being present, right? So the masculine that was tasked to protect her somehow wasn't around for various reasons, right? And what I appreciate so much about that particular movie and the story of Cinderella is I've come to learn that the animals around her that she took to becoming friends with, those are a example and a symbolism of her feminine energy. So her feminine energy went out and did the work for her. Oftentimes her animal friends would help her clean up, right? Oftentimes her animal friends would help her to secure more things so she can be more comfortable, right? So she can have a better experience, even though her current circumstances did not lend to that. Even when, she gets hooked up with her fairy godmother, another example of a very powerful feminine energy, when her fairy godmother shows up, her animal friends and the friends of the places that she has cultivated, so the garden that she has cultivated, the grounds that she has cultivated, the people who she showed care and attention to, they became the symbolisms of her energy going before her and creating spaces for her. That was her carriage, her horses, her doorman. She had all of what she needed to embody her feminine energy the big night of the ball. She had everything she needed to embody her feminine energy so she can then align with her Prince Charming when she met him. She did not know that she was going to meet her Prince Charming. She only knew that she was getting an opportunity to do something different. And that to me is one of the beautiful things about the feminine energy is oftentimes it might have visions and be able to see very far, and wisdom is downloaded very easily into the feminine energy because that is where the wisdom likes to reside. Case in point, oftentimes in even biblical text, wisdom is talked about and shared as a she. So, when as you're in your feminine energy, your wisdom, your energy, your dreams will go before you and prepare a place for you. Literally in the presence of your enemies. Was not her stepmother and her stepsisters at the ball as well? Witnessing her glorious transformation, but not knowing and recognizing that it was her because she had completely changed. She had completely been someone else. And it's not that she was someone else, but she was a higher, more embodied version of herself, a self that they did not recognize. And this is why oftentimes our feminine energy is not necessarily always celebrated, because when you step into it, when you embody it from like the toes up, when you really have it deep within your soul, you change. Those who then interact with you have to change as well. And if they don't want to change, or if they're not willing to see your change and transformation, then your feminine energy will start to create distance and space. Because that is the feminine energy is such a powerful, potent energy. You literally don't have to do much in terms of, protecting yourself, looking after yourself, making sure that you're always okay, when your feminine energy is really what you are embodying, because the world around you and the world inside of you responds to that, and responds to it in a very high, favorable way once you start integrating the wounds, once you start healing the wounds from yourself, once you start to shine some light on the areas in your life where your feminine energy would like to play. And that could be in various energies. As people, we are multifaceted, and we oftentimes wear different hats. And so when you allow yourself to recognize that you need to heal your feminine energy and the wounds in which you have may have had from your feminine energy in the different areas of your life, then you start to see shifts and change happen for yourself. And I really want us to come to a place where we can start to see and experience our feminine energy as an empowering energy. I use that movie as an example of an empowering situation where when her feminine energy was activated, when an environment was created for her to exist and embody in her feminine energy, her life changed, her life shifted, and I would say for the better, right? I'm not saying that you have to go and meet your Prince Charming and he's going to whisk you away to your castle, but hey, boo, it could happen, honey, because we see Meghan Markle. So we know that these things are possible. It is possible. It could just be that now you have more peace in your life. Now the anxiety that you used to wake up with, you no longer have. Now the depression and the hopelessness that maybe you experienced in moving through life and not really quite sure what to do and what your purpose is and why am I here, God, and all of those other questions that you may have had now start to become answered, and answered easily, because you are existing in your feminine energy, and your feminine energy will then start to download and connect to your divinity. I like to say that as I became more embodied in my feminine energy, I became a lot more divine. I became a lot more spiritual. My faith was activated, and my belief was activated to levels that I had not yet experienced before. And I know that's due to, in part, of healing the things that were keeping me from existing in my feminine energy. So for example, those are the areas of like not believing that I am supported. Well, how do I then look at support in my life? Perhaps it is a time for me to distinguish what this support is. Perhaps it's for me to actually redefine support. What is support for me? And the feminine energy is an energy that really allows us to tap in with what is innate, or really tap into what is deep on the inside for yourself. And so I encourage you to slowly peel back the layers of what could be getting in the way of your feminine energy and allowing you to exist in your feminine energy. And I don't mean to say that, well, because, I work at this job and I have to be there at this time to this time, and so therefore I can't be my feminine energy. Absolutely, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Cinderella's experiences did not change. She still was obligated to go and clean that house, look after her stepsisters and her stepmother, right? But there was something internal within her that made a shift, that made a change. And then that subsequently led to her prince coming to her and finding her. And her energy went out and then it returned back to her. And so if you find yourself feeling that I may have, the life I'm living may not allow me to get into my feminine energy, I encourage you to consider how else support can show up in your life. Be willing to open the door to support being something that other than you looked or you have previously experienced. Really looking at how your community can step up, and I don't necessarily mean only family, right? Community could be, the people in your household. Community could be the people around you. That could be women's groups. That could be church groups. That could be, online things. It could be your coworkers, your colleagues at work. You really have to open your minds to what is support and allowing yourself to receive this support because you are deserving of it. You are worthy of it. And perhaps your wounds may have told you otherwise. And really opening up yourself to also considering, how have you been supported by God? I know oftentimes when I hear people speaking about feminine energy and masculine energy, they don't necessarily like to discuss the importance of God or the higher power or, universe, whatever names that you would like to insert when it comes to the power that is above all powers, the energy that is above all energies. How have you been supported by God? Consider those areas. How has God come through for you? How has things worked out in your life where you're like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that worked out for me, but it did. These are the ways in which we can strengthen and really allow ourselves to embody our feminine energy, because our feminine energy recognizes that the greater power is truly looking after it. So even if you have never had experiences in your life where you feel that the masculine has protected you, provided for you, looked after you, cared about you, showed you kindness and respect and love, if you feel that you have not yet experienced that, I encourage you to look at, well, how has God showed you that? Because I can tell you one thing, the fact that you are listening to this today is an evidence that God loves you, because his breath is still in your body. Okay, so if you're still breathing, if you're still living, that is evidence that God still loves you, that God is taking care of you, and that God has something more in store for you. So even if you can hold on to that alone can change everything. Okay, so really allow yourself to dive into the wounds, open yourself up to support, and support in ways in which you may have not experienced. Again, the feminine energy is an energy that is willing to do something a little different, a little unorthodox, a little outside of the box, because the world in which we have been living in has created boxes that we are to exist in a very patriarchal and masculine way. And so the ways in which the feminine wants to embody seem to be counterintuitive or seem to be outside of those ways. And so I'm here to tell you that it's okay to do that. It is okay to step outside of what is comfortable for you. The feminine energy also recognizes that it's okay to be comfortable where it is uncomfortable. And it is okay to be uncomfortable where you were once comfortable. And it is okay to exist in these sort of spectrums. It is okay to exist in these spaces of unfamiliarity, because your feminine energy will show you what to do. So take time, go a little slower if you can, create spaces in your life where you can actually take a moment to pause when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you are feeling triggered, when you are feeling like life is getting the best of me, recognize that your feminine energy, your feminine power can actually rein that in and slow it all down. So I hope that this was encouraging to you. I'm definitely going to have a second part to this video because I really would like to talk about how we can go into our dream space as feminine beings, especially in business and in professional settings, and really how to honor the masculine, so the masculine within yourself and the masculines outside of yourself, and releasing the shame, releasing the trauma that comes with some of these ideologies that we have been all walking in and existing in and embodying thus far. So stay tuned for the second part to this video. I hope that this has been informative and helpful to you. This is a way in which I have been able to live my own life and create my own business, being successful in what I do. I have helped, I have served, I have been doing this type of work for over 20 years, guys. I have been in this space for quite some time, and it is a blessing. It is a blessing to be able to share what has been working for me, working for those in my space, working for those that I am blessed to serve and to witness. And I hope that this is empowering to you as well. Share if you have any questions, any comments. Everything will be at the bottom in the description in the video below. If you feel so called and inclined, please like and subscribe to my channel. It does wonders in terms of getting more people to experience this information and experience the healing and the peace that comes from this. So thank you once again. I appreciate you. I send you love. My energy goes out to you, and I know that it never comes back to me void. So thank you again for being here, for listening, and for being open to embody your feminine energy in more ways, in ways that are healthy and that ways that empower you and everyone around you. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk more.